The workload in Jonestown was brutal. Most people report that they worked 12 to 16-hour days. Farming in the heat in uncultured land that was never even designed to produce fruit and vegetables and vegetation for food. Mandatory meetings every single night. They had built a pavilion where every night you would go and you would hear a word from Jim Jones. Confession sessions began to happen where people were brought forward and they were humiliated to the point of tears and sometimes beatings that would happen as they would say that so-and-so stole an extra piece of bread or so-and-so did this to someone. And the abuse and rape and molestation that was happening, that was going on, is very widely documented because all of these sessions were recorded. And Jim would get up and he would take these confessions and he would manipulate and control people through this statement. Loudspeakers were installed and put all over Jonestown in Guyana, and 24/7 they had to hear Jim Jones's voice preaching and teaching and talking to them every moment of every day, while they're working, while they're sleeping, while they're walking their dog, while they're taking their kids for a walk. Whatever they were doing, they could always count on Jim Jones's voice coming through those loudspeakers, through an old sermon, through a sermon that he was recently preaching, through a message, whatever it was, his voice was coming through those speakers. And everywhere you went in Jonestown, loudspeakers were there, but armed guards were patrolling all throughout the border. You couldn't leave. No one could come in. There was this town that was built inside of a jungle that had guards protecting people from coming in, is what it was said, but it was to protect people from leaving as well. So that was what it was like inside. It was brutal. It was heartbreaking. It was devastating to everything you could do. But also, Jim Jones controlled everything. This is what Jim Jones controlled. He controlled when you slept. You could not sleep unless Jim Jones gave you permission to sleep. You could not eat unless Jim Jones gave you permission to eat. You could not determine who you were going to talk to unless Jim Jones allowed you to talk to someone. You could not control where you went. He controlled where you went, where you slept, what you did, and what you ate. Every letter that you wrote, Jim Jones read, or one of his people in his inner circle would begin to read. They would open and they would determine whether that letter was able to be able to be sent out of Guyana to be able to go back to whoever that was. And most letters never even left the premises. People at home said that it felt like my family member had disappeared off the face of the world. And they came to find out that there were letters and notes that were found in offices that were never sent out because they didn't want them sent out. The news you heard was the news that Jim Jones told you. There was no TV. There was no type of radios that were coming in and out. It was only the news that Jim Jones told you. And most of that news was, we have people that we have captured that were trying to come into this village to take over what we were doing. And everything you heard, you believed because Jim Jones was at the center of that information. He controlled everything, even to the point of controlling what you thought and how to think. Jones had a throne-like chair on an elevated platform where he broadcasted prophetic messages and political fear-mongering over his PA systems. This is some things that were said. The world is against us. They're coming to kill your children. I am your only shelter. This was not a community. This was a conditioning for people to ultimately listen to exactly what Jim Jones was saying and how they were going to respond to their life.